Welcome to this edition of In Motion, the information magazine with news about the latest projects and developments in Dart. Your source for up-to-the-minute news about Dart is next on In Motion.
Well, all right. That was all right.
Yeah, I think we're done.
It's so romantic in here. We should have candles
Mood
and
lighting.
spaghetti.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dart in Motion. I'm Vicki Hutson.
And I'm Curt Menefee. Our special guest today on In Motion is Mr. Roger Snobel, President and Executive Director of Dart. He's here to share with us his first-year experience in the hot seat at Dart, and of course, how a laid-back Californian deals with Dallas politics.
And Curt, later in the program, we're going to get in the holiday spirit by taking a closer look at turkey labels. Consumer Reports tells us what we're likely to get when the label says fresh. And do those little gobblers really taste better when they're labeled self-basting? Well, stay tuned to find out. But first, we've just been notified that In Motion reporters Les Traffic and Maura Roots have made an important discovery at Dart's new Illinois Transit Station. For a quick check on a fast-breaking story, we take you now live to South Oak Cliff and the Dart, Illinois Transit Center.
Les Traffic here, coming to you directly from the Illinois Transit Center. Rumor has it that with the addition of Dart's rail service, our local landfills will soon be bursting with Dart buses. Someone has got to get to the bottom of this. Our local landfills are already bursting with refuse. There is no room for waste.
Where do you get your information?
Well, this guy over here was talking about refuse and waste, and I just thought it was telling.
Yay! Who in their right mind would think that Dart would want to scrap a good thing while it was going? I happen to know that Dart is planning to integrate the entire bus and rail system.
Oh, well, I knew that. I was just testing you.
Yeah, right. Just get it right, okay? And remember, bus and rail will work together.
Mm-hmm. Just like we do.
More or less.
You're a comedian.
Okay.
Les Traffic here.
And Maura Roots, reporting from the Illinois Transit Center. With the development of Dart rail system and the commuter rail system, Dart will now be able to divert the buses to where they're needed the most. The buses will reach new routes and they will be used to feed the rail stations. The combination of bus and rail means faster commute times.
The bus and rail system will be able to take thousands of commuters off of Dallas roadways.
Thus, thinning the traffic for those of you who have to drive to work.
Hopefully in carpools. By decreasing the rush hour traffic, the bus and rail system will clear the air for Dallas roadways.
And it will clear the road for Dallas.
Air.
Road.
Air.
Road.
Air.
Road.
Air.
Air.
Road.
Gotcha.
Ugh.
This is Maura Roots reporting.
I hate when you do that.
For the majority of us, traveling to and from work, a trip to the grocery store, or a visit to the dentist is just another part of a rather routine daily existence. But for Dallas' developmentally disabled population and the elderly, these daily activities are quite challenging. In response to the challenges faced by these individuals, Dart has developed a travel training program designed to instruct participants in the use of public transportation, primarily buses. There are two types of instruction available: field destination training, which covers the ins and outs of traveling to and from specific destinations, such as work or school, and general travel, which is the instruction in general use of the bus system, like going to the movies or to a shopping mall.
I think it's necessary because we have always put barriers for developmentally disabled people, and it's necessary in showing that they can do things, a lot of things that what we're considered as quote-unquote normal people, and that they can do a lot of the same things that we can, and I think that this program really helps. And I think it also will help Dart because it's helping relieve the handy ride for those who don't really need to be on handy ride, and they are capable of doing this.
The program is implemented in a logical and sequential manner by a staff trainer who follows a curriculum designed to demonstrate the skills necessary for independent travel on a one-to-one basis. This personalized instruction includes the practical experience of riding the bus with a client during daily activities and providing a self-paced method of learning that allows participants to progress at their own rate.
And then the training actually starts where we go to their home. Usually it's a person that has a job or something, morning and afternoon. We meet them at home in the morning and take them from home to work, and then in the afternoon from work to home. And we do that. The training usually lasts about 2 weeks, sometimes 3. Usually if it has to go into more than 3 weeks, we look at the possibility that they may not be able to ride. But it's usually in the beginning, you're riding with them, and then we have a fade-out process. Then we have a process where we follow them in the car. Then we do a secret follow, and if everything is successful at that time, then we end the training. If not, we tell the care provider or the parent or whoever that we don't recommend that they ride.
Sometimes when the clients change jobs, we go through and we will do a retrain. And the retrain would consist of the changing of the bus route, showing them the different landmarks that they need to do, helping them with their transfer points and what have you. But once the program is complete, that client is ready to access fixed route transportation.
The goal of this training is to establish a permanent system-wide program in which all disabled people will have access and assistance in learning how to use public transit.
I've started off with some that was just totally, I guess, closed in or had a wall built around them, and when I finished with them, they were like a totally different person. They were excited. It's just it gives you a natural high to see them so excited. And I think that would make the care provider or the parent real proud of them to see that. So I would recommend, and like I said, it helps them in getting a job and just doing other things in life that they may otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to do.
It is the hope that independent use of the bus system will be another factor in mainstreaming the disabled community into a society that takes for granted the simple things of life.
Saving historic neighborhood sites and promoting retail development in the local community are concepts not often associated with public transit authorities. But DART hopes to change all that by launching a $5 million retail development to revive an 80-year-old building and jumpstart an Oak Cliff neighborhood in the process. Using a federal grant and private investment, DART plans to turn the abandoned Monroe shop near its Illinois Transit station into retail shops and offices.
We have spoken with developers, and the interest is high. We anticipate that there will be good feedback from the community about this project. Anytime you bring in a retail development, office space, and what have you, the response from the community is more often than not, it's going to be great.
Built in 1914, the building was used as a maintenance facility by the Southern Traction Company and then by the Texas Electric Railway Company. Before it was closed in 1948, the building was a connection point for rail lines headed south to Waco and east to Corsicana. Today, the site sits amid an area the city of Dallas is targeted for development and one that will be served by DART's light rail system beginning in 1996.
And the Monroe Shops building is located immediately adjacent to the Illinois station, the light rail station planned for opening in 1996. The enhancement is to actually rehabilitate the historic Monroe Shops building and to create a vehicle. What we've taken is to take that rehabilitation and say, well, what do we do with it once it's rehabilitated? So we have actually created an opportunity, or we're actually in the process of creating an opportunity to put it into an adaptive reuse situation. And what we envision at this point is that we would be able to have someone join with us, someone from the private sector, join with DART in providing some of the financial costs to see some type of retail development, office development. There may be some other functions that could come in there. All of that could be defined at this time by the private developer, who would be responsible for managing the project. But so we're not necessarily getting involved in a retail development as much as we are in enhancing the experience that the traveling public coming to our Illinois station would be able to experience.
DART will pay $500,000 of the cost for the project to match a $2.1 million federal grant awarded by the Texas Department of Transportation. The rest of the $5 million price tag will come from private investors.
This type of project is very new under the enhancement program, but other examples of concentrated development around station sites are seen throughout the country at various rail stations. An example would be in Washington, D.C., where there is a very extensive amount of joint development or just regular private sector development that occurs around rail stations. And so what we're seeing here in Dallas is this is our first attempt to dealing with that kind of concentrated development around stations.
DART hopes to hire a developer by year's end to oversee leasing, design, and financing, and if plans go accordingly, Construction will begin mid-1995, with the first stores expected to open at about the same time as DART's light rail system starts operating in mid-96.
Well, Curt, not unlike the Monroe shop function in the early 1900s, DART's new service and inspection facility for rail cars and buses will be opening its doors soon to provide maintenance for a large fleet of transit vehicles that will serve the Dallas area. Located in South Dallas at the former Santa Fe Freight Rail Yard, the site will include all maintenance and storage facilities associated with light rail, bus facilities maintenance, bus operations control center, and bus administration.
The S&I facility has been designed to be primarily self-contained. We can repair almost anything on the vehicle with the exception of a few items like traction motors, which would be sent out to a contractor for work. But anything related to the light rail vehicle, including preventive maintenance, unscheduled repairs, major overhaul work when we get to that, probably 5 years or so after we start running in '96, and then also any body damage and any paint work will all be accomplished at the S&I facility.
The S&I facility is federally funded and represents a new era in bringing state-of-the-art light rail technology to the state of Texas.
Well, it's been a long time coming, 8 years in fact, but DART now plans to increase transit fares effective January 23rd. In a recent vote on the fare structure, DART's 15-member board of directors approved the new fare structure for bus and van riders in a unanimous decision. DART's president and executive director Roger Snobel said the new fares will allow the agency to give our patrons the best transit services possible each weekday. Recognizing that public transit is not a money-making industry, Snobel went on to say, like other businesses, we must pass part of the cost back to the consumers. Beginning January 23rd, bus riders will see a 25-cent change in current fares, moving from 75 cents to $1 for local and urban routes, and from $1.75 to $2 for premium express routes. Increases to discounted cash fares for students from 25 cents to 50 cents, and senior citizens from 15 cents to 50 cents were also adopted. Children, disabled, and Hopper bus riders will pay a 50-cent fare as well. Under the new plan, free transfers, currently limited by direction of travel, route, and time, expanded to include a 90-minute non-directional transfer for bus riders. The board also approved new 1- and 3-day fares with unlimited ride options for $3 and $6 respectively.
You know, one of the best ways to do something right is to observe and learn from others' successes as well as failures. With that credo in mind, a group of DART board members and staff visited Houston Metro Transit Authority recently to learn firsthand how well their high-occupancy vehicle lanes function. In 1979, Houston Metro introduced a relatively new concept in traffic management and transit with construction of a contra-flow lane on the North Freeway. Now, these lanes change the direction of a lane on the uncongested side of a freeway during peak periods, and only vehicles with 2 or more passengers could drive in them. The idea was successful immediately. By October of 1980, more than 1 million bus, carpool, and vanpool passengers had used Houston's North Freeway 9.6-mile contraflow lane. And soon, a more formal approach to the idea of HOV lanes took place in Houston, and the authority began constructing transitways. Now, transitways are safe, barrier-separated lanes specifically constructed for use by buses, carpools, and vanpools. For a look at how Dallas plans to integrate HOV lanes in the transit system plans, here's a live report from In Motion reporters Les Traffic and Maura Roots.
234, 235,
426, 427,
764, 765.
Look, why don't you just keep on counting cars and I'll make this report?
That will be fine. 1,410, 1,411.
This is Maura Roots with a report from DART's HOV Maintenance Garage. DART's high-occupancy vehicle program has significantly reduced traffic problems to and from downtown Dallas for several years. Already more than 1,417 cars use the HOV lane, and cars using the HOV lane can arrive in downtown up to 7 to 10 minutes faster than cars with just one person.
It's no wonder DART plans to expand the program along I-35 north of LBJ Expressway, about 7 miles in Farmers Branch and Carrollton.
As I was saying, the current HOV program on I-30 uses an innovative piece of equipment called a
barrier transfer vehicle.
Most people just refer to it as the zipper machine. Now this zipper machine borrows one lane of traffic from the opposite side of the road to the HOV lane.
The left lane, right?
Right.
The right lane? All right, the outgoing lane in the morning and the incoming lane in the afternoon. But the new HOV lane along I-35 north of LBJ will use concurrent flow lanes. That is DART speak, meaning the lane will go right up the middle.
So the I-35 lanes will not use these zipper machines. They will be permanent lanes that operate much the same way as the I-30 lanes do. So if you are driving a car with more than one person in it, then you can use the HOV lane and drive up to 30 miles per hour faster than those single occupant cars.
And that means less traffic.
And this is Mora Roots. That's a ramp. I cannot believe you looked at your zipper right on the air. I mean, that is so tacky.
No one noticed I turned around.
Yeah, I saw. Everybody noticed. I can't believe you.
Progress on DART's light rail transit starter system is continuing with very few obstacles being encountered, at least according to engineering officials. DART's construction of the Union Station train platform for Amtrak and future DART trains is now finished, and the reconstruction of the Reunion Boulevard bridges and pedestrian tunnel at this site are also nearing completion. At the West End Station area in downtown Dallas, quite a bit of construction activity is taking place, with DART contractors completing the canopy's roofing installation. In this area, the shape and feel of a rail transit mall is being developed with the installation of track work, pavers, warning strips, and other finishing materials. But the most exciting news on the light rail front is taking place across the ocean in Japan. The manufacturing process on DART's light rail vehicles is progressing with the first test rail cars under assembly in Osaka, Japan. Much of the underframe assembly has been completed, and most of the body shell is structurally complete. Delivery of the first rail vehicles to the Dallas area is expected sometime this spring, with testing to begin on the Trinity River Bridge in late summer. Well, Vicki, the big question this time of year, have you gotten all your Christmas shopping done yet?
You know, as a matter of fact, I have. Well, everything but your gift. What do you want?
Well, why don't we just do it this way? You buy what you want, and that way I don't have to buy you anything.
And I give it to you? Well, see, you won't like that because I want Daryl Johnson. You know, the moose from the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I
That's what
certainly
want.
won't like that, so why don't you just buy them and keep them, although Jerry Jones might have something to say about that.
You
Who
never
knows?
know.
We'll talk about that coming up a bit later. But coming up next right here, I'll be talking with DART's president and executive director, Mr. Roger Snobel. But first, let's take a look at some of those rail cars in motion. Stay tuned.
At Dallas Area Rapid Transit, we're reversing some trends. Because every weekday, DART's buses and HOV lanes are removing more than 80,000 cars from our streets and highways. Eliminating that much traffic means that DART is removing over 33,000 pounds of pollutants from our air. It also means that you get home a little earlier at the end of your day. DART, the way we get there.
En DART estamos logrando cambios importantes. Todos los días, los autobuses de DART y los carriles HOV sacan a más de 80,000 automóviles de las calles y autopistas. Eso significa que DART está quitando más de 33,000 libras de contaminantes del medio ambiente. También significa que usted puede llegar a su casa más temprano al final del día. DART nos lleva donde vamos.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that glimpse of riding the rails in '96. But now we're going to get a chance to talk with a man in charge of Dallas's transit future, Mr. Roger Snobel. Roger is president and executive director of DART and has been on the job for just about a year now. Welcome, Roger, to the program.
Well, thank you, Curt. It's a pleasure being with you today.
I'm glad to have you on In Motion. Well, now that you've had a chance to work with the DART board and take control of the day-to-day operation at the agency for just about a year or so, what's your assessment of the present state of the agency as well as the future of DART?
Well, I'm even more excited now than I was almost a year ago when I first became associated with DART. There's just so much going on. We have such a high level of activity and so many different people working really hard to serve the Dallas area better. And I guess I really am caught up in the excitement of all the energy that's going around, the bus system, handy rides. We're really working hard on getting it fixed up. The HOV lanes, the one we're operating, we're designing 2 more and getting those ready for construction. Commuter rail's really going well. The light rail project is just super and really moving ahead on time and on budget. And just all the different kinds of things that are going on at DART is just a terribly exciting place to be.
Lots to cover in year 1. During that first year, though, the agency has held a number of public meetings with its member cities to kind of outline a new DART transit system plan for the region. How do you think the public has reacted to the new proposal, and what obstacles do you see in getting the new plan adopted?
Well, we've been out, I guess, probably 80 meetings that I've gone to, and then the staff has had several other meetings. We've had a tremendous amount of public input into the new system plan, financial plan, and it has been received, I'd say, very well. The vast majority of all the different components in the plan have been accepted very well. We have resolutions from most of our member cities supporting the general concept of the plan and individual specific kinds of things. It's really down now to, in January, making a few decisions about a few different things. One, probably the biggest issue at this moment centers around the use of the Cotton Belt Rail Corridor, which has been in the service plan at DART since 1983 as a rail corridor. And now in the new system plan, we're advancing that to the 2010 time frame. And because of that, that's showed some people that live along that corridor that we're serious about putting rail on it. And so they have some real concerns about having a train operate on the railroad that is in their backyard. So that's probably the biggest sticking issue that we have on the system plan. There's some other things as far as our policy towards high occupancy vehicle lanes, and I think that's been resolved pretty well. Some issues over the local assistance program where we make money available for our member cities, at least the suburban member cities, to use funds for road, street repair, and that sort of thing. And some of those still have to be worked out. But generally, part of DART's vision is to really be able to make that transportation system work much better and much more efficiently, get people where they want to go really effortlessly. So we're working hard on that.
If we can get off the subject of transit for just one small moment. I know you've lived all around the country. You've been to many cities around the U.S. and several other places. How does Dallas compare to a lot of the other major metropolitan areas around the United States?
Well, Curt, I don't think there's a lot of different places in the country that I really want to live and call my home. Coming from San Diego, people say, well, gee, that's a beautiful place. Why don't you, why'd you come to Dallas? Well, Dallas is really one of those areas that I really enjoy. The weather's not bad. I mean, it doesn't have terrible snow or anything like that, so that's tolerable. Coming originally from Northern Ohio.
You weren't here last Thanksgiving then, right?
No, I saw it, but I saw it on TV, and I thought, well, wait a minute. But the excitement here and the economy is so strong, and people are excited, and they're working, and they're creative, and they want to get things done. And it's a tremendous opportunity to really make a very big, very strong economic metropolitan area really work as a decent place to live, yet being an urban area.
Chargers having a pretty good season this year.
Yeah.
You grew up in Northern Ohio. Cleveland having a pretty good season. What if those two teams wind up meeting the Cowboys? Because, of course, the Cowboys are going from the NFC. What if they meet in the Super Bowl? Who are you going to root for?
Well, Curt, you have to understand that the time that I lived in Cleveland, growing up with Cleveland Browns, I mean, so they're really kind of
they're in your heart.
They're in my heart. And the Chargers, I got very close to too, through the Dan Fouts era and the Don Coyer era. But there were a lot of times when those teams didn't win.
Right.
And and as somebody growing up, and there's a guy by the name of Roger Staubach that's kind of a hero.
He's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, he was. So that I didn't always have a winner to root for. So that's where, for as long as I can remember, I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan. Mm-hmm. Now, if it comes down to Cleveland or San Diego against the Cowboys, I'm going to look for a really great game. And I don't think I can lose.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I thought you tap dance around that one. Thanks for joining us, Roger. It's been a pleasure having you today on In Motion. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye, now that you made that big Super Bowl prediction?
No, I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, then. Thanks a lot. We'll see you before January, hopefully. Well, we've all seen the labels on those turkeys at the local A&P promising freshness and a better taste through self-basting. But do these birds really taste any better? Or is it all just in the packaging? Well, stay tuned and watch as Consumer Reports uncovers a real turkey for the holiday season. Consumer Reports is up next.
When you shop for turkey, reading the labels doesn't tell you everything. When Consumer Reports tested a variety of turkeys, including Butterball, Jenny O, and Norbest, it found that the word fresh doesn't necessarily mean not frozen.
Technically speaking, a turkey can still be called fresh as long as it's held above 0 degrees Fahrenheit. In fact, a lot of the so-called fresh turkeys were pretty solidly frozen when we received them.
Turkeys sold as frozen have been flash frozen and held at 0 degrees or below. That can be a plus, since commercial flash freezing causes minimal moisture loss. In fact, one of the juiciest birds tested was the flash frozen Butterball, which was also self-basting. But in Consumer Reports testing, not all frozen basted birds were as tasty as they were tender.
One of the supermarket brands had an off-flavored cheesy note. Ironically, that's the only one that actually had real butter as part of its basting solution.
In general, the birds labeled fresh did have a more natural meat flavor. In fact, Consumer Reports gave its highest rating to a fresh turkey, the Jenny O Natural. It tops the list for fresh flavor, ranks with the frozen basted birds for juiciness, and it's one of the least expensive birds tested. This is Julie Nicholson.
From the moment Dallas was born on these Texas plains, transportation has shaped our lives. But whatever shape transportation took, just getting there was the most important thing. Then times changed. The quality of our lives became the driving factor, and DART began to shape transportation instead of letting it shape us. And in 1996, DART will make getting there a whole new experience. DART, the way we get there.
You know, seeing that old footage really makes me appreciate modern transportation. Like that old Volvo on the driveway doesn't look so bad now.
Well, next thing you know, it'll be that Jetsons Parkway thing where you just, you know, kind of sit there and cruise back. You don't even have to do anything.
I like that. And you know, the perfect couple to do a report on
The
this.
two of us, right?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But I'm actually thinking of Les and Maura.
Or Maura and Les, however that goes.
Sure, more or less.
What more or less? I think,
we should stop while we're ahead.
Yeah, more or less. I think we
so.
should. On behalf of Vicki, Hutson, I'm Curt Menefee, and we hope you've enjoyed this edition of In Motion, DART's news magazine designed to help keep you informed of the latest projects and developments at DART. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on In Motion.
Bye.